Trapped in a time loop, one soldier must die over and over to save humanity from an unstoppable alien force. With a news anchor summarizing an alien invasion. Humanity seems to be losing, but then a major victory in Verdun changes everything. Thanks to a new mechanical suit tech, the Allied forces manage to win. Leading the charge is Rita Vertasky, a Special Forces soldier who's hailed as a hero for taking down hundreds of the aliens, known as mimics. Among those praising her in newsreels is Major William Cage, a PR guy for the US Army, hyping up Rita and the war effort. Cage thinks he's on his way to London to help the general improve his public image. Instead, General Brigham has other plans. He wants Cage on the front lines of the next invasion, in France, to give media coverage. Problem is, Cage has zero experience in combat. Naturally, he tries to weasel out of it by blackmailing the general, but that backfires. Instead of backing down, Brigham has Cage arrested. Cage wakes up at Heathrow, which is now a military base. He's thrown into the hands of Sergeant Farrell, who's been told to demote him from officer to private. Farrell hands him over to the J Squad, a ragtag group of misfits. These guys are unique, to say the least, and they're not thrilled about babysitting Cage. When Farrell catches them gambling, he punishes them by making them eat the cards. He then leaves them to prepare Cage for their big mission. The next day is Invasion Day. Cage is a nervous wreck, and to make it worse, the J Squad doesn't even bother to show him how to use his gun properly. They figure he'll die quickly anyway. Things go south fast. The squad's aircraft gets hit, they drop too early, and the surprise attack turns into a slaughter. The mimics knew the humans were coming, and they wipe out the entire team, including Rita. Cage, in a last-ditch effort, blows himself up along with a blue mimic and gets covered in alien blood. Then something weird happens. He wakes up back at Heathrow, exactly where he was before. He tries to explain what's going on, but no one believes him. He dies again and again, each time waking up in the same spot, reliving the day. Gradually, Cage gets better at surviving and even manages to save Rita in one of the loops. She realizes what's happening and tells him to find her next time he wakes up. Cage wakes up, this time with a plan to work with Farrell and the J Squad, buying himself time to track down Rita and figure out how to stop the invasion for good. After numerous failed attempts to sneak away, Cage finally manages to escape and find Rita training in a hangar. At first, she's cold, but once he explains his time loop situation, she takes him to meet Dr. Carter, an expert on mimic biology. Turns out, Rita was stuck in a similar time loop during the battle at Verdun, caused by the blood of an alpha mimic. Carter explains that all mimics are controlled by one overmind, called the Omega, and he even designed a device that can locate it if stabbed into an alpha. But before they can even think about finding the Omega, they need to survive the invasion. Rita then begins training Cage, which means killing him repeatedly whenever he gets injured, so he can reset the day. At one point, when he's badly hurt, Rita warns him to make sure he dies fully and doesn't get revived by a blood transfusion, because that would break the loop, exactly what happened to her. Then things get weird. Cage starts having visions of the Omega's location in a dam in Germany. Carter and Rita think it's because Cage is basically an alpha now, thanks to the blue blood. They focus all their efforts on surviving the invasion, and they keep getting better at it with every loop. But no matter how good they get, they keep dying, and Cage is forced to start over again and again. As they spend more time together, Cage starts falling for Rita. However, watching her die repeatedly takes a heavy toll on him. At one point, he's so exhausted and heartbroken that he gives up, tries to escape the loop by hanging out at a bar, but the mimics find and kill him there too. Eventually, they make it inland and find a helicopter at a farmhouse. Rita notices that Cage seems reluctant to move on, and she confronts him. Cage admits that they've looped to this exact spot several times, but every time Rita dies, he's trying to prevent it from happening again. When she asks why he cares so much, he's at a loss for words, but it's clear he has feelings for her. Rita, however, is still laser-focused on the mission and even forces a reset by getting them killed. In the next loop, Cage decides to go to the dam alone, but when he gets there, it's empty. The Omega isn't there. He's ambushed by an alpha that tries to strip him of his time reset ability, but Cage drowns himself to avoid losing it. Back to square one, Cage, Rita, and Carter finally piece things together. They realize that the big victory at Verdun was actually a trap set by the Omega, designed to trick humanity into launching an invasion of Europe, where the human armies would be wiped out in one big ambush. With no other leads, Carter's device, based on his theory that got him fired, becomes their last shot at finding the Omega. Unfortunately, the device isn't quite finished. It's missing some key equipment. But now they know what they need to do. Get the missing piece, which happens to be in the hands of General Brigham. Rita and Cage shift their focus to breaking into the Ministry of Defense to retrieve it. After many failed attempts and redos, they finally manage to infiltrate the place, and Cage convinces Brigham to hand over Carter's prototype. They stab the device into Cage's leg, and this time, it works. Cage gets a vision showing the Omega's true location, beneath the Louvre Pyramid in Paris. As they try to escape the Allied headquarters, their getaway car crashes, and the airbag knocks out Rita before she can kill Cage to reset the day. When Cage wakes up in a hospital, he realizes that he's out of the loop. He's been given a blood transfusion, so he's lost the ability to reset time for good. This is it. No more do-overs, no second chances. Now they have just a few hours left before the invasion. Cage finds the J Squad and recruits them to help take down the Omega. They fly to Paris, but things immediately go wrong. Mimics attack their airship, and half of the J Squad is killed in the chaos. The survivors, including Cage and Rita, use the last bit of engine power to crash the airship into the Louvre. The remaining members of the J Squad sacrifice themselves so that Cage and Rita can make it inside the museum. Once inside, Rita tells Cage that she'll distract the Alpha Mimic patrolling the area, while he dives into the water to blow up the Omega. Before she goes, she kisses Cage, a bittersweet thank you for getting them this far. In true action movie fashion, Rita takes on the Alpha, but it ends tragically. She's captured and killed. Cage, meanwhile, dives underwater with the Alpha in pursuit. As it stabs him, Cage pulls the pins on his grenade belt, dropping it right on top of the Omega. The explosion destroys both the Omega and the Mimics, wiping them all out. In his dying moments, Cage is soaked in the Omega's blood. He wakes up back on the helicopter, but this time in an alternate timeline. Instead of heading to the doomed invasion, he hears a news report that says a mysterious explosion in Paris has wiped out the Mimics, and the human forces are now moving to reclaim Europe. All the members of the J Squad are alive too. Cage heads to the base and finds Rita. She doesn't recognize him, giving him the same cold, distant greeting as always. Cage just smiles, knowing everything has changed, even if she doesn't remember him. So, Edge of Tomorrow delivers a clever mix of sci-fi action and time loop storytelling. Tom Cruise's transformation from cowardly officer to seasoned warrior is compelling, and Emily Blunt's fierce portrayal of Rita adds depth. The action is intense, and the time loop concept is executed in a way that keeps it fresh and exciting. With a satisfying, bittersweet ending that skips the usual romance trope, the film stands out as a smart, thrilling, and highly entertaining sci-fi experience. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. See you in the next one.